the really tricky part. Now, Kamari in Malaysia has taught me how to do this. And also the branch president's wife used to make these with roast beef and potatoes and peas inside, but we're putting curry filling. So we have these balls of dough. This is the dough with the margarine in it. This is the dough with the egg yolks. And it's roughly the same amount of, of dough. So I'm going to spread it out. Then put this in the middle. Bring this up around the side. I think it's going to need a little more. So I'm sealing it all the way around. Now you're going to do this with every single ball. But I'll only need to walk you through one. So they've both been chilled. I'm just going to get a little flour on it. Now I'm going to push down with the heel of my thumb here because I want this ball to collapse, not just the softer dough to goosh out. So now we have that. See, a little more flour on there. So I'm going to roll this into a rectangle. Now if you don't go all the way to the end, you can come across and it'll make more of a square corner. So not all the way to the end and then come across and there's more dough left to make a square corner. So now I roll this up like this. Now the way I was taught to do it is set this aside and refrigerate it every time, but I'm much too lazy for that. So I'm going to set it like this, mash it down again, and roll it out into another rectangle. Now there is one, well, among many others, one of the benefits to letting it wait in between is the dough becomes more elastic as you work with it. And so it doesn't really want to go where I want it to go. It wants to spring back because I've just been working with it. And it won't spring back so much if you let it wait a few minutes. Get some of that flour off. The flour will come loose in the oil when you fry it. And so I don't want a lot of loose flour in there. Okay, I'm going to do this one more time, a third time. But I think what I'll do is I'll do another of these and let that rest just a few minutes. See if it's going to be easier to roll out so you can see what the difference is. Usually they say to wait about 15 minutes for that elasticity to subside. Okay, so it's in there. Just pulling this up. Now this is the Asian way of crimping. See, I'm not going to do this later, but this is the way I would do it if I was making buns. See, it makes a nice little spiral. So, here we go, down in the center. Get some flour on it. Remember, I'm getting a rectangle. Now, because these are refrigerated, it helps the dough stay separate. You don't want the doughs to mix. You want them to be separate. Because the special thing about this dough is all the layers. And the layers are going to cook into a spiral, which is really beautiful. Okay, I'm going to set that one aside now. Go back to this one. It feels a little bit more supple, so maybe it's not quite so elastic. I think I'll put that on the inside this time. Okay, if the consistency of either one is too varied, or if it's not cold, what will happen is the butter part will start creeping out. It'll make a crack in the soft dough and the butter will creep out. So we want to try to keep it contained. Okay, that is it. They all have to be done like that. Well, this is the one that's 3 times. This is only 2 times. So what I do when I finish them up, I'll just take that to show you. If it's the 3rd time already, I wrap it like that. Then if I have another one that's the 3rd time, I'll wrap it like that. And I keep them all contained so they don't get dry around the edge. And then I put them in a freezer bag and freeze them. And then I have them on hand. But today we're going to use these fresh. They'll go back in the refrigerator after they're all rolled while we make the curried dough. Do you want me to show you that pleating thing one more time? Do you have time? Okay. Now this is what I use on those stromboli buns, or Chinese buns with bean filling and stuff like that. Okay, here, a little bit more, a little too much. Okay, I'll put that in the center. Now what I do is I hold it with my thumb and bring it up with the knuckle of my first finger. Get some flour. Doesn't it turn out pretty? But sadly, it's going to be on the bottom when it's baked. Okay, I'm just going to do the rest the same way. Then we'll catch you on the next video when we do the next step. Okay. Ready to go. The rolls have been chilled, and I'm cutting about a thick 1/2-inch slice. But it just depends on what size you want. Now there's one thing about this rolling pin. I usually use a flat rolling pin, not a curved rolling pin, because I really want the outside thinner than the middle. So I'm just going to go around a little and try to thin out that outside part a little bit. Okay. Now I've got some filling cooling over here. Remember we put all those chunks of spice in there? Well, we really don't want to bite into that. So as you fill it, you got to watch for pieces and take them out. That one might not be too big, but okay. Now I'm going to put just a little water around one side, and I'm going to bring it up in the middle. It's a little easier that way, I think. And then just push it together here. And then the signature crimp is this. Remember that pleating that I showed you before? It's that pleating almost. See, I push it down with my thumb and squeeze it against my first finger. Push it down with my thumb, squeeze it against. Doesn't it make a pretty fluting? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to get a whole pan full before I start. Now you can see the design already. See that spiral design? That's because of all the turns and rolls we did. It makes a spiral design in the dough, and then it will, when it's cooked, that spiral will become even more prominent. Now, I don't know how they do it, but in Malaysia, they make these really full. But when I try to make them really full, they just break. So maybe push that down a little. See, I'm trying to make it full, but oh well. You know what? The crust is so delicious. It doesn't matter if it's very full or not, because you're going to like eating it just for the crust. Oh, the oil.
Looks beautiful.
Yep, there they are, cooking away. Beautiful, beautiful curry puffs.
All right. Very good.